This anime is about old people and it's somehow good. Let me explain. So we're met with this elf girl, Frieren, and her merry gang of adventurers who've just defeated Demon King. It's no surprise that the first episode is titled Journey's End, since we're just meeting her at the end of this 10-year journey. We're so used to watching isekai and fantasy anime that stretch over years and years, not to mention that the series take the same amount of time to be produced in the first place, looking at you, ReZero, so it even feels as if it takes years and years. Though that is our expectation, to be met with a story which spans generations. Yet this anime subverts such expectations and we meet this party at the end of their journey. So I do recommend to you to go watch this anime before I espouse how beautifully crafted this first episode is, because at its core, it's the story of this elf and her journey over the decades of human history. Because Frieren is biologically different and able to live centuries older, her perception of time is not at the same level as us. 50 years is but a couple of weeks for her, so it makes for a compelling story of how someone is supposed to deal with that. With so many people met, how does one reconcile outliving so many people? And if that sort of story doesn't compel you, then simply watch this anime on the basis of its utterly beautiful animation. It's been a while since I've seen such care and attention being given to an anime, so I would encourage you to watch the first episode at least. Right from the very start, it's been made clear that this is Frieren's story. This isn't shown from the perspective of Himmel, who has been celebrated for his role as a fighter, how he has been honored and revered by many for his actions. Neither is it from Heiter's perspective, the respect and status he's gained as a corrupt priest, the problems and anxieties he's faced only revealed later on. Nor Eisen, whose insight we only look into near the end of the first episode. This is truly Frieren's story. She doesn't care about the formalities or celebrations nor customs of humans like Himmel may have adored. She merely acknowledges the statues made in her and her party's honor. She also starts off with such little regard for the length of human life and instead dedicates years of her life to the study of magic. It is only at the loss of her companion that she realizes how different she is as an elf, and I am utterly amazed by how impactful the scene of Himmel's funeral is. After one last adventure to see the same meteor shower event that occurred 50 years prior. There's no emotional track in the background, but simply the respectful silence that comes in death. Obviously, Frieren spent 10 years with Himmel on this adventure, and it should be impactful for anyone to have lost such a close companion. So it's no surprise that it hits even harder when we, just as Frieren, at the burial of Himmel, realize how little we know about Himmel, and it's only accentuated by how little screen time he has in the first episode. It's beautiful and there's no other way to say it, which brings me to the way in which Frieren's story is told. A common device used in storytelling is using form to imitate content, and I cannot articulate enough how clever this anime is for doing this. I said at the start that this anime is about old people, and the reason why I say that is because we see Frieren, who has lived so long, meets up again with old acquaintances who have grown old and grieves when they die. Though there's also the dignified place that the elderly find themselves in. Frieren acts as a mentor, a wise counselor, and an old person to depend on. She ends up adopting Fern, a young orphan who she's inherited off of the corrupt priest, and I should think it's a great emulation of how the older generation imparts knowledge upon those who are younger. Of course, the difference with this anime and any other old people movie is that Frieren remains young because she's an elf, and that's what makes it so compelling. Because she doesn't age at the same rate as us, Frieren's able to observe the cycles of human life, from birth to glory to comfort and to death. The characters talk, they do what they talked about in the quite relaxing montage, which never gets actually boring because, again, there's so much care and attention in making these characters not look like cardboard cutouts. Then the characters talk again, and stuff happens again. It's a new cycle which should be boring, but it isn't, because the anime keeps it fresh new story beats and new locations to travel to and new old people Frieren's met in the past, new flashbacks to the good old days when her party members were still alive. I cannot stress enough how beautifully crafted these first 3 episodes are. It's a story about the cycles of life, and the story in itself is in the form of a cycle. And what's even better at the end of episode 2 is that Fern becomes a framing device for we, the audience, to insert ourselves into. At episode 1, we only know about the grand narrative that's been told about this famous party who have defeated the Demon King. We too are like Fern, who are completely new to this world, so it doesn't become boring when Frieren explains magic because it makes sense that she would explain magic to her apprentice. Not only that though, but she then is able to naturally tell stories from her perspective which challenge the grand narrative written for her party, and when she does, it's cute and funny and as if we were sitting with an actual old person reminiscing about past. I digress with my gushing over this anime because I've yet to explain why this is a Christian anime. Ultimately, it's those principles which I've already discussed over the course of this video. This is a beautiful anime with themes of how we should treat the elderly and how the young should act. We shouldn't be like Frieren at the start of the first episode, who has no awareness of how short human life is. Because life is short, we should do everything in our ability to do things for God, to spread the gospel, to share our knowledge and experience, and to use our gifts in service to others. Then there's also that beautiful relationship between Frieren and Fern, an older person acting as a mentor even in their old age, but also a young person who is ready and willing to learn. I can truly say with a lot of confidence that Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, is a Christian anime. Which, if you are looking for more of my recommendations, many said that before Frieren aired, Oshinoko was supposed to be Anime of the Year, for which you can watch my review of here.